A U.S. Local and State Help Hotline Guide. Chapter 1. U.S. State and City Mental Health and Addiction Hotlines. Find U.S. drug hotlines by state at addictionresource.com/addiction-and-rehab-hotlines. It works like this. addictionresource.com/addiction-and-rehab-hotlines/Alabama-numbers. addictionresource.com/addiction-and-rehab-hotlines/Alaska-numbers, Alaska helplines. U.S. local help hotlines from drughelpline.org/hotlines. Alabama. Alabama Department of Mental Health Substance Use Helpline 844-307-1760. UAB Medicine. 800, UAB, 8816. Not One More Alabama. 256-384-5055. Alaska. Alaska Department of Health and Social Services. 800-478-2221. United Way of Alaska 2110R. 800-478-2221. Anchorage Community Mental Health Center. 907-563-3200. Alaska Care Line. 877-266-HELP. 4357. Arizona. Arizona Governor's Office of Youth, Faith, and Family. 602-542-4043. Together AZ. 866-394-1952. Recovery Center in Scottsdale, Arizona. Be Connected. 866-4AZ-VETS. 429-8387. Arkansas. Arkansas Mental Health and Addiction Services Support Line. 844-763-0198. California. California Department of Health Care Services. 800-879-2772. Star Vista Alcohol and Drug Helpline. 650-573-3950. Colorado. Colorado Crisis Services. 844-493-8255. Colorado Drug Addiction Helpline. 866-218-7546. Connecticut. Connecticut State Department of Mental Health and Addiction Services. 860-418-7000. Delaware. Delaware Division of Substance Abuse and Mental Health. 302-255-9399. Northern Delaware Mobile Crisis Intervention Services. 800-652-2929. Southern Delaware Mobile Crisis Intervention Services. 800-345-6785. Florida. Florida Health. 850-245-4444. Heart of Florida United Way 2-1-1. University of Central Florida Student Health Services. 407-823-2701. Greater Orlando Area Narcotics Anonymous. 407-425-5157. Georgia. Georgia Crisis and Access Line. 800-715-4225. Hawaii. State of Hawaii Department of Health. 808-692-7506. Hawaii Cares. 800-753-6879. Idaho. The Sun Club. 208-721-0565. Alamba House. 208-377-9669. The Walker Center. 800-227-4190. Idaho Drug Tip Hotline. 800-524-7277. Illinois. Illinois Helpline for Opioids and Other Substances. 833-2 Find Help. Illinois Department of Human Services. 800-843-6154. Indiana. Drug-Free Marion County. 800-254-2815. Indiana State Police Drug Tip Line. 800-453-4756. Iowa. Iowa Department of Public Health. 855-581-8111. Powell Chemical Dependency Center. 515-263-2424. Kansas. CKF Addiction Treatment. 785-825-6224. Sunflower Wellness Retreat. 855-720-9831. Kentucky. Kentucky Office of Drug Control Policy. 833-859-4357. Northern Kentucky Addiction Helpline. 859-415-9280. Louisiana. Louisiana Department of Health. 225-342-5568. Baton Rouge Crisis Intervention Center. 225-924-1431. Maine. Maine Mental Health Crisis Hotline. 888-568-1112. Maine Division of Disease Prevention Information Line. 800-499-0027. Maryland. Maryland Crisis Helpline 211. Recovery Connection. 866-810-8385. Massachusetts. Massachusetts Substance Use Helpline. 800-327-5050. Massachusetts Bureau of Substance Addiction Services. 617-624-5111. Michigan. Michigan Department of Health and Human Services. Michigan.gov. University of Michigan Addiction Treatment Services. 800-525-5188. Minnesota. Minnesota Department of Health. 888-345-0823. Minnesota Adult Mental Health Services. 651-431-2225. Minnesota Behavioral Health Division. 651-431-2460. Mississippi. Mississippi Department of Mental Health. 877-210-8513. Turning Point, Mississippi. 844-481-0361. Missouri. Missouri Department of Mental Health. 800-575-7480. NAMI, Missouri. 800-374-2138. Montana. Montana Department of Public Health and Human Services. 406-444-0936. Montana Recovery Helpline. 877-688-3377. Nebraska. Nebraska Medicine. 800-922-0000. Central Nebraska Council on Alcoholism and Addictions. 308-385-5520. Nevada. Crisis Support Services of Nevada. 800-450-9530. Join Together Northern Nevada. 800-273-8255. Crisis Call Center. 775-784-8090. Nevada 2-1-1 or 866-535-5654. New Hampshire. New Hampshire Department of Health and Human Services. 603-271-6738. New Hampshire Bureau of Drug and Alcohol Services. 800-804-0909. NH Recovery House Registry. 603-271-6105. New Jersey. New Jersey Addiction Services Hotline. 844-276-2777. New Jersey Hope Line. 855-654-6735. New Jersey Mental Health Cares. 866-202-HELP. 4357. New Mexico. University of New Mexico Addiction and Substance Abuse Program. 505-994-7999. Your First Step. 855-211-7837. Healing Addiction in Our Community. 505-877-3951. New York. Office of Addiction Services and Supports. 877-8 Hopany. NYC Well. 888 NYC WELL. 1-888-692-9355. North Carolina. North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services. 800-662-7030. Via Health. 800-849-6127. North Dakota. Recovery Talk. 844-44 Talk 2. North Dakota Department of Human Services. 701-328-8920. Ohio. Ohio Department of Mental Health and Addiction Services Crisis Line. 330-296-3555. Ohio Addiction Helpline. 330-678-3006. Oklahoma. Reach Out Hotline. 800-522-9054. Oklahoma County Crisis Intervention Center. 405-522-8100. Oregon. Portland Suicide Lifeline. 503-972-3456. David Rompre Warm Line. 800-698-2392. Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania Quit Line. 800-QUIT-NOW. Tobacco Cessation. Rhode Island. State of Rhode Island Department of Health. 401-414 link. 5465. Rhode Island Buprenorphine Hotline. 401-606-5456. Family Task Force. 401-467-6850. The Samaritans of Rhode Island. 800-365-4044. South Carolina. South Carolina Department of Alcohol and Other Drug Abuse Services. 803-896-5555. Cornerstone of Recovery. 866-461-4811. South Dakota. South Dakota Department of Social Services. 605-367-5236. Avoid Opioid. 800-920-4343. Strengthening the Heartland. 605-688-4121. Face It Together. 855-539-9375. Tennessee. The Tennessee Red Line. 800-889-9789. Tennessee Crisis Line. 855 Crisis 1. 1-855-274-7471. TDMS's Helpline. 800-560-5767. The Tennessee Department of Mental Health and Substance Abuse Services. TDMS's. Texas. Texas Health and Human Services. 855-937-2372. Texas Drug Addiction Treatment. 855-980-5757. Starry Counseling Program Crisis Hotline. 800-440-9789. Utah. Utah Department of Human Services. 801-538-4171. University of Utah Addiction Recovery Services. 801-583-2500. Utah Addiction Centers. 801-766-2233. Vermont. VT Help Link. 833-565 link. North Central Vermont Recovery Center. 802-851-8120. Vermont Recovery Network. 738-8998. Virginia. Virginia Community Service Boards. 804-786-3921. Crescent Life. 888-534-1219. Virginia Suicide Hotline. 703-527-4077. Arlington Emergency Mental Health Services. 703-228-5160. Washington. Washington Recovery Helpline. 866-789-1511. King County 24-Hour Crisis Line. 866-4 Crisis. 427-4747. West Virginia. Help for West Virginia. 844 Help 4WV. West Virginia Bureau for Behavioral Health. 304-356-4811. Wisconsin. Wisconsin Addiction Recovery Helpline. 833-944-4673. Wyoming. Wyoming Department of Health. 800-535-4006. Wyoming Recovery. 307-224-1740. 844-289-0879.